You know that moment. It's late. Your phone is face up on the bed. The room is quiet except for the little sounds of your own waiting. You saw their name light up hours ago, and for a second your whole body softened. Then the message was dry, half there, no real warmth, no follow-up, no care. Just enough to keep you emotionally hooked, but not enough to make you feel chosen. And now you're staring at the ceiling, replaying everything. The last conversation, the last shift in their tone, the last time they felt close. And the thoughts start coming fast. Why does this keep happening? Am I asking for too much? If they cared, wouldn't it feel different than this? Why do I feel addicted to someone who barely shows up? Am I the problem? Here's the truth no one says clearly enough. You are not struggling to detach because this love is so deep. You are struggling because inconsistency has trained your nervous system to confuse relief with connection. You're not needy, you're not weak, and you are not failing at love. By the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly why detaching from an avoidant who doesn't value you feels so hard, and how to finally let go without becoming cold, bitter, or disconnected from yourself. Let's get into it. Most people think detachment means caring less, but the real truth is, healthy detachment has nothing to do with becoming numb and everything to do with becoming safe inside yourself again. Most couples believe the answer is to communicate better, try harder, be softer, be more patient, be more understanding. But the deeper truth is this. When you are attached to someone who is emotionally unavailable, your body is often trying to solve a safety problem, not a love problem. That changes everything. Because when someone is hot and cold, withdrawn, affectionate one day and distant the next, your nervous system does not experience that as romance. It experiences it as instability. And when your system feels instability, it starts scanning, overthinking, reaching, fixing, hoping. You call it love, but beneath the surface, a lot of the pain is your body begging for solid ground. And the avoidant person? Their nervous system is doing its own thing too. Closeness can feel like pressure. Need can feel like demand. Vulnerability can feel like losing control. So the more you pursue, the more they pull back. The more they pull back, the more you pursue. That's not chemistry. That's a cycle. An anxious avoidance cycle. Two people often wanting connection, but protecting themselves in opposite directions. But here's what nobody explains. Detaching is not about proving you don't care. It's about refusing to keep abandoning yourself in order to stay connected to someone else. And once you see that, every move you make starts to change. Point 1. Stop calling breadcrumbs potential. Here's the part no one talks about. Most people in relationships don't stay attached because the relationship is consistently beautiful. They stay attached because every once in a while, it almost is. That's what makes this so brutal. Most couples would leave faster if the person were cold all the time. But when someone gives you just enough presence to reopen the hope, just enough affection to make you second-guess your standards, just enough connection to keep the fantasy alive, your nervous system grabs onto the relief like water after a drought. That's not because you're irrational. It's because intermittent reinforcement is powerful. Unpredictable affection can hook a human heart harder than steady love ever has to. So when he disappears for 3 days and then sends, "miss you," your body lights up. When she goes distant, then suddenly vulnerable at 11:42 p.m., your brain says, wait, maybe this time it's real. But here's what changes everything. Potential is not the same thing as pattern. Not one good night, not one emotional conversation, not one moment where they seem emotionally available. Pattern. That's what tells the truth. The disconnecting version sounds like this. Maybe they're just overwhelmed. Maybe I need to be more understanding. Maybe this means they do care deep down. The connecting version sounds like this. I can enjoy this moment without building a future on it. If your care only appears in flashes, then your inconsistency is the pattern I need to believe. And when you stop feeding yourself on crumbs, your heart starts remembering it was made for a table, not a trail. Point 2. Let their distance be the answer. And this is the one most couples never figure out. Most couples think closure comes from one more conversation, one more text, one more attempt to explain the pain clearly enough that the other person finally gets it. Honestly, I get why. Ambiguity is brutal. It keeps you emotionally suspended. Your mind hates unfinished stories, so it keeps reaching for clarity from the very person creating the confusion. But the deeper truth is this: confusion is often the closure. Their inconsistency is the answer. Their lack of effort is the answer. Their emotional absence is the answer. Not because they're evil, not because avoidant people don't feel anything, but because value is not measured by private feelings. It's measured by repeated, visible care. If someone says they care, but leaves you chronically anxious, chronically unchosen, chronically alone in the relationship, then your body is already learning something your mind is still resisting. I do not feel safe here. The disconnecting version sounds like this. Can you just tell me where I stand? I just need honesty. I just need clarity. I just need to know if this means something to you. The connecting version sounds like this. I already know where I stand by how often I feel dismissed, deprioritized, and emotionally stranded. I don't need more words to override what your pattern has already taught me. That's hard. Man, it's hard. But when you let their distance answer the question, the fog starts to clear, and you stop building your reality out of someone else's mixed signals. Point 3. Stop performing for basic care. Here's where it gets really interesting. Most people in relationships do not realize how much shape-shifting they start doing around an avoidant partner. They become easier, cooler, less emotional, less honest, less needy-looking, more convenient, more available, more forgiving than they really are. Why? Because some part of them believes, if I can just be low-maintenance enough, lovable enough, calm enough, sexy enough, undemanding enough, then maybe I won't trigger their withdrawal. But that is not connection. That is self-erasure with good lighting. And beneath the surface, both people feel it. You feel anxious because you are betraying your real needs. They feel pressure because even your calm starts carrying unspoken longing. This is why the whole thing can feel like scar tissue. Not one big betrayal, 100 small moments where the real truth never got room to breathe. The answer is not being easier, not being more chill, not pretending you need less, but telling the truth and letting the truth sort the relationship. The disconnecting version sounds like this. It's okay. I know you're busy. I'm fine. Seriously, no pressure. While inside, your whole body is saying, please just care enough to notice I'm hurting. The connecting version sounds like this. I like consistency. I like presence. I want someone emotionally available. If my needs feel heavy to you, then we're not dealing with a chemistry problem. We're dealing with a capacity problem. And when you stop auditioning for basic care, you stop feeling like a role in someone else's story and start feeling real again in your own. Point 4. Regulate before you reach. But here's what nobody explains. Most people think the breakthrough will come from the perfect message, the perfect boundary text, the perfect final paragraph that is somehow loving, wise, devastating, detached, self-respecting, and impossible to ignore. No. That urge is rarely wisdom in the moment. It's usually activation. Your nervous system in this dynamic is like a smoke detector. It cannot always tell the difference between emotional distance and actual danger, so the alarm goes off anyway. And when it goes off, your body screams, "Do something now." Send the text, fix the rupture, reopen contact, relieve the panic. But the urge to reach is not always a sign that love needs expression. Sometimes it is just your body trying to escape withdrawal. Sometimes the text you want to send is really this: "Please help me not feel abandoned." That deserves compassion, but it does not deserve control of your next move. The disconnecting version sounds like this: "I know you said you needed space, but I just wanted to say one more thing." And beneath that message is the raw internal monologue: "If I don't fix this right now, I'll lose them." The connecting version sounds like this: "I'm activated. I'm not reaching from clarity. I'm going to sit with this wave, call a friend, go for a walk, write the text in my notes, and let my body come back online before I decide anything." This isn't a communication hack. This is what it looks like when someone learns that emotional maturity means not handing the steering wheel to panic. And when you do that, the walls inside you start coming down, because you finally become someone your own pain can come home to. Point 5. Grieve the fantasy, not just the person. Here's the part that breaks people open. Most people think they are only grieving the person, but usually they are grieving the version of the relationship that lived mostly in hope. The future you imagined, the tenderness you kept waiting for, the emotionally available version of them that showed up in flashes and made you believe more was coming. That's why detachment can feel like tearing yourself away from something sacred, because you are not just losing what happened, you are losing what you believed could still happen. And that grief is real, deeply real. Most couples never name this. They keep saying, "But there was something there." And often there was. But something being real is not the same as it being sustainable. A spark is real. A cycle is real too. So is the ache of waiting for someone to become who they only know how to be for 10 minutes at a time. The disconnecting version sounds like this: "But when we were good, we were so good. Maybe if I explain it one more time, maybe if I'm softer this time, maybe if I don't trigger them." And beneath it is the unspoken thought: "Maybe if I say it perfectly, they'll finally choose me." The connecting version sounds like this: "Yes, there were real moments, and yes, I loved them. But I am grieving a pattern I kept trying to rename as a promise. I can miss them and still tell the truth about what this did to me." That's the shift. Not from love to indifference, from illusion to honesty. And when you grieve the fantasy fully, the bond loses its spell, and your heart starts making room for what is actually capable of staying. Point 6. Turn your energy toward what turns toward you. And this is where most people finally start healing. Most people, after a breakup like this, make their whole life a waiting room. They don't call it that, of course. They call it processing. They call it staying open. They call it just needing time. But quietly, they are still oriented around the same person, still checking, still hoping, still measuring their worth against someone else's withdrawal. Here's the truth. Detachment does not grow in obsession. It grows in reattachment to your body, to your routines, to your people, to your purpose, to what feels alive when you are not being emotionally rationed. Not revenge, not a glow-up performance, not posting stories so they can see what they lost, But rebuilding a life your nervous system can actually rest inside. Because when you stop pouring all your energy into what is withdrawn, you finally have enough energy to notice what is present. The friend who calls back. The work that lights you up. The mornings that feel clean again. The parts of you that were disappearing in this cycle and are now becoming visible. The disconnecting version sounds like this. You wake up and check their profile before your feet hit the floor. You reread old messages. You wonder if today is the day they finally come back different. The connecting version sounds like this. You wake up and ask, what turns toward me today? A workout, a journal page, sunlight, therapy, work you respect, a friend who actually shows up, a life that is not asking you to beg for entry. And then something quiet starts happening inside you. She actually feels different. He feels steadier. They feel like themselves again. And that is the shift that turns your life from an emotional waiting room into a place you can breathe in again. Point 7. Make access earned, not assumed. And here's what changes everything. Most couples who try to detach still leave the door emotionally cracked. Not fully open, not fully closed, just cracked enough for one late-night message, one vague apology, one lonely weekend, one "I've been thinking about you," to pull them right back into the same cycle. Because deep down, they are still hoping contact will become commitment, still hoping chemistry will become care, still hoping longing will become love. But healthy detachment means this. Access to you is no longer automatic for people who keep mishandling your heart. That is not punishment. That is not bitterness. That is self-respect with a nervous system attached to it. Most couples misunderstand boundaries. They think boundaries are dramatic, harsh, cold. But real boundaries are not loud. They are clean. They simply say, you do not get the intimacy of me without the integrity that makes intimacy safe. The disconnecting version sounds like this. They text, you up? And you answer, because a part of you still wants to feel chosen, even if it only lasts till morning. The connecting version sounds like this. I don't do half relationships anymore. If you want access to me, it has to come with clarity, consistency, and care. If not, I'm stepping back. This isn't a trick for getting them to chase you. This isn't reverse psychology. This is just what emotionally mature people do when they stop confusing availability with value. And when you do that, the relationship stops feeling like a negotiation for crumbs and starts feeling like a mirror for your standards. So let this land. Detaching from an avoidant who doesn't value you is not about becoming colder. It is about becoming clearer. It is about no longer calling pain love just because longing is present. It is about no longer letting someone's limited capacity define your worth. This isn't a checklist. It's an identity shift. You are becoming someone who can feel deeply without abandoning themselves. Someone who can love without chasing. Someone who can tell the difference between connection and confusion, between presence and potential, between real intimacy and emotional hunger dressed up as chemistry. When you internalize this, you stop trying to convince people to value you. You start noticing who already does, and your whole life gets lighter. Because the day you stop begging for love to choose you is the day you finally start choosing yourself in a way that changes everything.